Hey kids, today's lesson is notes about poetry. Okay, we're going to start taking a look at figurative language, as you see up here. All right, figurative language is language that is used to embellish, to describe, to develop character, setting, plot, conflict, all of those terms that we've been talking before. These are more specific terms. So today's lesson is just getting you into that with some notes. So we're just going to go ahead here, and I'm going to go through these notes with you. You can go through this on your own. You're more than welcome to do that. You don't have to sit here and listen to me, or you can kind of go through and take these notes down as I go through them. It's not letting me go into present mode, so I'm just going to go through it this way. First and foremost is the speaker of a poem. All right, when we take a look at figurative language, most figurative language comes through in poetry. So we'll be taking a look at a lot of poems over the next 2 weeks. Okay, speaker is like point of view. It's the voice of the poem. It's the narrator. Are they using high vocabulary, or are they using very low slang and dialect and stuff like that? So that kind of shows if it's educated or if they're illiterate. Okay, can you tell if it's a feminine or a masculine voice? And who knows? But just some of the things, young or old. So just some of those kinds of speaker things that kind of show what point of view the poem is being told from, because it's not always the poet who's telling it. Okay. All right. To move down next into stanza. Stanza is the form of the poem where the lines break. As you know, poetry looks a lot different than prose. Prose, you have the paragraphs, you have the indents and the lines, whereas there's a definitive structure to a poem, okay? All right? And we'll get into structure in just a little bit here. Tone, just like we talked about last time, and what I appreciated seeing a lot of you guys in your discussions was the tone that Gilmer took when he was talking to Tom Robinson was very nasty tone and everything like that. And so you guys were very good with that. Make sure that you are going in and taking a look at some tone words and being very specific with that, okay? So here we are more specifically with figurative language devices with comparisons. Comparisons are ones that you guys probably already know, like metaphor, not using like or as, simile, comparison using like or as, personification, giving a non-human object human characteristics. And what you might not know is allusion, okay, referring to well-known historical, literary, or religious incident. For instance, in To Kill a Mockingbird, she alluded a lot to FDR, the Great Depression, the New Deal, all of those different kinds of historical points. And if you didn't understand those allusions, you might not have understood what she was talking about. So that's something that you will start to see a lot in poetry, too, is allusions to mythological creatures, to gods and goddesses. And so that's something that I want you guys to start becoming used to, okay? Another figurative language device is sound, such as alliteration. That's the same beginning sounds, Peter Piper picked a peck of peppers. Assonance, same vowel sound. Consonants is the same consonant sound. And onomatopoeia is a word that is a sound. Assonance and consonants can come anywhere in the context of the words. They might be the beginning, the middle, the end of the words. Alliteration, on the other hand, is always at the beginning, okay? And then you have word devices, like, and this is, we talked about diction when it comes to tone. One of the word devices that you guys will see is diction, okay? All right, connotative meaning. Did they choose a specific word for a specific reason? Pun is a play on words. We won't see that too much because I'm not going to get into Shakespeare with you, but as you guys know, a lot of Shakespeare is comprised of puns. An oxymoron, two opposite words combined to make a noun, like pretty ugly, deafeningly loud, jumbo shrimp. So you might have heard some of those before and everything like that. Lastly, like I said, these devices, figurative devices, words, sounds, and comparisons are mostly used to help develop these literary devices, okay? Character is always a role in the poem, play, story, whether it's fiction or nonfiction. Setting is always the place or mood, and conflict is always the tension. So poets use those figurative devices a lot to help develop that. Again, like I said before, poems are set up into forms, a definitive line structure. So there's couplets, tercets, quartets, pentameters, which is how many grouped lines are in a stanza. Sonnets, some of you guys might be familiar with that, and we might get into some sonnets when it comes to Shakespeare. 14-lined poems, a specific rhyme scheme, poses a problem and solves it. And epics, you get into that next year with 10th grade, but it's story in a poetic form, okay? Meter, we're not going to get too much into, but this is just helpful to have because poetry, a lot of it is based on the rhythm, okay? All right, and so specific words are chosen to create that rhythm, all right? And so that's where meter comes in, okay? And lastly, everything points back to theme. What is the message of the poem, okay? So there's your little lesson for today. I highly recommend that you guys go back and take a look at these notes as well too. There's more involved in there. They give more specific examples, and so it might be helpful to kind of add to that development with some of these, okay? And then the other thing that I have is this SIFT chart. All right, and we're going to come back to that later on this week, but I would go ahead and open that up, take that in and copy it into your notes because we'll come back to and discuss that with every poem that we're going through, okay? Also today, besides going through the notes and everything like that, start reviewing everything that we're working on this week, okay? All right, and I think that was it for today. Yep, SIFT, go through that. We'll come back to that later on this week. If this comes up, don't worry about it, okay? All right, that's all that's for today, okay? Thanks, guys, and have a good rest of the day.